I am so obsessed. One touch of your body, nobody ever can see you. Open up, make I see one. You're my quantity. Make it bad man sing.
Welcome to the Lunchin with Lisa show. I am so excited to be here. I say this every week because we have the best guests ever. So I'm not going to keep you too long with the introductions of what's going on with Lunchin with Lisa, and then we're going to get straight into our guests. So I first wanted to say happy birthday to everyone that's celebrating a birthday this month. I think it's Scorpio season, if I'm not mistaken. So happy birthday to all of you all. I know you are turning up and having a good time. I want to do a special shout out to someone who is a huge supporter of Lunchin with Lisa and actually every platform that I have, Victoria Holland. She is a huge supporter of Lunchin with Lisa and the magazine and everything. So I wanted to do a special shout out to Victoria. Today is her birthday. So shout out to you, girl. Have a good time. She's in North Carolina. Enjoy your day. Don't let nobody mess up your birthday because you know how I am about birthdays. I take a whole month. So let this be the beginning of your celebration and enjoy every minute. I also wanted to say happy anniversary to all of those who are celebrating love. I am a mushy gushy kind of person. So anytime you're celebrating love and relationships and things like that, then hey, Dana's on, yay. Then I want to say, enjoy the love, stay in the moments, and happy anniversary to you. I also wanted to shout out saying congratulations to everyone who has either graduated, you might have graduated early, you might have started a new business, whatever it is that you're doing, congratulations to you. That applies to our guest because she has released her new book. So congratulations. We're going to introduce you to the new author. Okay, yep. But she's not really new to the game, but we're gonna explain all of that because she's good at what she does. She just now gonna share it with the world through her book. So we're gonna congratulations to you, congratulations to everybody else.
Thank you.
I wanted to actually do a shout out to the DSM media team. I know some of you all realize that Shariva Smith and I actually handle background production for online shows like Lunchin with Lisa. And we also do things like graphics. We do background. If you see anything that's involved with Lunchin with Lisa, whether it's the production or the ads we do, the commercials we do, that's all DSM Media. We have a Facebook page out there. So if you're looking for some help, you want to have a show like this, or you want some graphics to promote, look up DSM Media. We love what we do. So please hit us up. We'd be happy to help you. I also wanted to mention before we get started that you can also be a sponsor of the Lunchin with Lisa show. So if you're interested in maybe, getting out here and putting something on your product. Like we actually expose your product through the show, but you can actually be a sponsor for a month of the Lunchin with Lisa show, where we put your business out there so that people can find you and connect with you. So we always love to expose people and the things that they're doing. So hit us up at info.dsmmedia@gmail.com if you're interested in being a sponsor. We'd love to have you on. So without further ado, and we'll make some other announcements of things we have coming up later on in the show, but we wanted to actually introduce our guests. So I'm not going to do a huge bio introduction or anything like that, because I think once she starts sharing who she is, she's going to tell you everything you need to know. But I will share with you that she's, I believe, a third generation writer and now a new author. And if you all have been paying attention, and maybe I won't tell you the name of the book just yet, we'll just introduce Donna Marshall and welcome her first to Lunchin with Lisa. Thank you so much for coming on.
It's my pleasure.
Absolutely. We've been waiting for this day. I'm excited. And I'm not going to say anything else about who you are, because sometimes I like to read bios sometimes, but I think your journey, your story, and then this book is something I think you can say better than anybody else. So tell us a little bit about who Donna Marshall is, and then we want to kind of segment into how constant a force to be reckoned with, how that came about.
Well, first, Donna Marshall is a married woman and retired in Florida.
How about that?
Yes, yes, most definitely. I did not think that this would happen. Many years ago, before my mom passed away, she gave me a gray box. It was an acid-free box, and I didn't know it at the time. And it had a lot of papers in it and things, but when you're in your 20s, who cares?
Right.
Who cares? So I carried the box. I had the box. Look, it went from place to place when I moved. And then my sister and I, Dana and I, when her health was declining, we started cleaning out her office and everything. And I started noticing these manuscripts. And so I kind of said, well, I'm going to take these home and I'm going to look at them and see what's going on. Now, my mom had vascular dementia. Fortunately for us, she still knew us. Okay. She knew who we were. So Dana and I were doing things in the basement, putting stuff up. So I went up our basement steps. Well, we lived in Southeast and DC, and going up those steps, it was like, and my mother, in a moment of clarity, said, what do you have in your hands? And I felt like I was 8 years old. And I went, your manuscripts. I said, I like to read them. She said, take them, copy them, and bring them back. And I did. But my mom wrote more about her father and his family in St. Thomas. Me reading the manuscripts, I got into my grandmother. And I was like, this is where I get this from. This is where my other sister gets this from. This is where my mother gets this from. And I went, and grandma did what? I had to tell her story, because she was one of those invisible brown women who nobody really knew her except Mary McLeod Bethune. She really knew her. Those were two peas in a pod. And I just said, I'm going to do it. My neighbor just finished teasing me not too long ago, because she said, Donna, when you start writing this, you didn't come out the house for 2 years. And I said, well, I'm getting ready to go back in the house because I'm starting a second book. So I had to write her story. She did too many things. In the 60 some years she was alive, she accomplished more than what some presidents, I think, accomplished. What she did for her people and people in general, not just people of color, but people with limited means. It just inspired me. So I had to write about her, and I just call her OG, because that's how I feel about it.
And just what you said is one of the reasons why I was so excited to have you on the show, and so excited for this book, because it just kind of ties into, and I know you all, we're going to give a little bit more information about the hidden treasures, but to me, she is the definition of a hidden treasure, which is why the timing was so perfect, because that's what this show is all about. If you really want to ask me about what the show is about, it's about exposing those people. A lot of times those people are doing amazing things and no one knows, because either they're not big enough to get the message out, or people aren't paying attention because they're looking over here. Whatever the reason is, it's missed. And it doesn't mean that their work is not being done. It doesn't mean the change is being made, but nobody knows who did it. And a lot of times we don't pat ourselves on the back for those kind of things. So this is my opportunity to not only, congratulate you, but your mom and all the wonderful things that she did that people just slept on. And so this is just a wake up call that there's a whole lot of things going out here and a whole lot of special people out here that you all are sleeping on. So thank you for sharing the gem in your life, because I will tell everybody. So here's something you might not know. Some of you may, but Dana Hutchison, she's the editor of Dove Style Magazine, which is my online magazine, is Donna's sister. So, and she is the editor of Touched by Dove Publishing. So this is just to even make this circle a little bigger to show you what we're looking at right here when we talk about your new book and third generation writer and editing. I'm talking about this family right here is the business. Okay. I'm just saying.
And she edited this book too.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit. I just love how this unfolded. And tell us why it was so important. You talked about you had to do it. So without telling people a lot about what's in the book, because we want you to go out there and purchase the book, and it is now available out on Amazon. But I want you to give them some tidbits of what they can find, or what, just allude to some things, because this is a powerful piece to me.
They're going to find that there were women that was educating the president of the United States. There were Black women educating the president at that time of the United States. They're going to find out that Eleanor Roosevelt was very good friends with Mary McLeod Bethune. That they're going to find out that there were strong women, not just my grandmother, but the lady who delivered my mother in the country kitchen. Okay, they're going to find out that there were some strong women, and they had nothing. When I tell you they had nothing, there's a picture I just found, and it was a picture of my mother when she was about maybe 4 or 5, her older brothers, and one of her brothers had on a coat and had like a string around it to tie his coat together. My mama said they were so poor they couldn't afford to spell it. She used to tell us that all the time. But there were things that these great women, and I didn't write about my mom, which I could have, but my grandmother did some things during a time where women weren't supposed to do anything but to be quiet and to obey their husbands. And it's okay to have, the head of the household. I get that. But this is a woman who was highly educated. She went to an all-white high school. She was the only Black student. There were 500 students. 499 of them were white. She went to the Agassiz School in Massachusetts. She spoke Latin fluently. She spoke English. She lived in a predominantly white area where her grandmother's next door neighbor, was white, and so was the other one. And some of that is in the book. But she knew the importance of young girls to be more than just maids and cooks. She knew that if she invested in their lives, that it would just produce so much fruit.
Mm-hmm.
And she fought tooth and nail to make it happen. And when she was told no, yes just came all out of her.
Right.
I've read 8, 9, 10-page letters that my grandmother used to write to the archdiocese when she wasn't happy, or one of the priests who told her to be a good little wife and sit back and wait till her husband tells her what to do. And, and see, I can hear her now saying, you need to kick rocks in a very respectful way.
Right.
So I had to get her story out. And my ultimate goal is to make it a documentary, because she has touched so many lives that we didn't know. We saw a documentary about the AKAs called 20 Pearls. Deborah Riley Draper did this. And then my sisters are looking at TV and they're like, that's grandma. Oh, and grandma helped the AKAs? And grandma did this?
Wow.
And I reached out to Miss Draper, and she was kind enough to walk me through some things and give me some ideas and pointers to be successful with an endeavor that I was really scared of. I was scared. I didn't think I was good enough to do this. So
really?
Yeah.
That's surprising to me.
Look, I will bungee jump. I will fight an alligator out there. But I'm from DC. I'm making some shoes and a belt.
That's right.
But to write about somebody who is just her. Yeah. And knowing when my grandmother graduated from college. My mother graduated from college. My sisters graduated from college. I graduated from high school, so I didn't go any further.
Okay.
And I've been asked, what, you didn't go to college? No, but I stayed home and take care of my little brother who had cancer so my parents could work. And that's what I did. That was my contribution. But I just knew that my grandmother's story had to be told. Mm-hmm. I know it's important. There's so many people's lives that have been touched. I'm hoping that some folks from St. Mary's County at where Cardinal Gibbons Institute, the school she used to run, I hope they're there because they know so much of this story. They have a plaque and a monument down there, and they're building a museum down there. When Dana and I went down there with my dad, my grandmother's piano was there, the piano they used to play, and some of the desks that the students, they preserved it for their museum. So just to
this was destiny, because that's how you're discovering all of these things that were right around the corner.
Yes. And a lot, she was part of an elite group, and this mentioned, now we can bring it up later, but she was part of an elite group, and she had to be something else to be face to face with like 20 or 30 men in this group. They were business owners and everything else, but she did what she felt she had to do. Mm-hmm. She believed in taking care of the community. She believed in education. My little sister says education is the new currency. And I just believe that little girls, all different ages, and even grown women will be able to take something away from this. Mm-hmm. And say, wow, she did this in the early 1800s, in the late 1800s, in the early 1900s. What she did, I know some people who can't get that done today.
Right.
So.
Right. I'm so excited. So, and I want to encourage everybody. And you have a copy of the book there. I've ordered mine. So what I'm encouraging you all to do, don't leave the show yet, because we're going to give you information on how you can get this book, but you have got to go out there and order this book. And these are the kind of books that I love, because my whole mission with anything is to gain some kind of knowledge, education, inspiration from entering a doorway and leaving out a little better than how you came is how I feel everything you do, whether it's, tuning into a show like this or reading a book, you want to walk away with something where you say, I didn't know that. And that's my goal. And I think this book is full of information that not only you all discovered along the way, because I think that's why I say this is destiny for you all, because I mean, this is only the beginning. Think about, you mentioned a documentary, and to me, it inspires people to find out where they came from. Like, why do you, like you said, why do you do the things you do? Oh, okay, that makes sense. And think about all of the power that's been sitting in your family. And now you know why. When I pay attention to the things that Dana does, and then when I met Donna and started talking to her, I was like, oh, I get it now. Like, if you met them both, you're like, I see why you all are sisters, because it's running through your blood. It's how you move. It's how you react, how you think, it's everything. So this just matches your energy. So I'm excited for you. Congratulations. You have a couple people that are tuning in. I think Paul said, I didn't know that is my reaction to about every page. Wow. And that's huge.
Thanks, Paul.
Yes, that's how you're supposed to hit people with a book, y'all. So let me tell you, I know she said she's a first-time author, but the way you went through the process and you have prepared yourself for every step. Donna don't play, okay?
I'm a little OCD though.
No, but no, you embraced this whole thing, and that's why I was surprised when you said you didn't think you could, because everything about our conversations and talking to you suggests that, oh, absolutely you could. Like, how could you think you couldn't? But I get it. But this is a huge thing that you did for your family. Legacy wise, this is humongous.
Well, you know what? It's funny. I was showing this lady a picture that a cousin of mine sent me, and on his bookshelf, he had my mother's 3 books. He had his book, and Elton is writing another book about our family. His another cousin, her book was up there. Then the Black Cabinet, that book was up there that has my grandmother in there. And I said, you're missing 5 more books. And he goes, 5? I said, yeah, my baby sister wrote a book. I said, my niece wrote 3 books, and my baby sister's husband wrote a book. And I'm just saying, let's just all write books about our family, because we'll get Dana to edit everything.
That's right.
Not only was Dana, and I have to give Dana a shout out, but she taught me a lot through the editing process. And people, you can't just write it down and then she corrects it. It doesn't work that way. She fact checks. She makes sure that what I wrote was true. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she is the truth.
Only thing I can say is it's a good thing she's my little sister.
I know. Because
it was somebody else, I may have used different words with them. But and then her daughter. Now, the apple don't fall far from the tree. Jasmine started helping doing some of the editing, and she's very good with writing. She's an excellent writer. So it's going through the family. And I think my grandmother and my mother would be so proud of all of us,
Absolutely.
And my cousin Beverly, she wrote a book, when she was down at Spelman, when she was the president of Spelman. So
y'all made it a family affair, which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
I love it. And these are the kind of books that I really encourage people to pick up. I know there's some fun stuff out there, but when you're really trying to learn even the history of where you're from, I'm from Washington, D.C. as well. But just, as I was understanding a lot of what was going on with your book and what you were sharing, and even some of the things Dana has shared when we've actually brought people on board to the publishing company, it was like, we're sitting on some fire right here. Y'all have to understand who's touching your masterpiece that you're writing, and for it to be all in the family. Oh yeah, y'all just sitting on the jackpot.
I was trying to get her to kick your other authors to the curb. She goes, excuse me, but you're number 17. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I wrote this a year ago.
She made you get in line, huh?
You know what? You have to respect it, because when you're in business, you most definitely need to respect the process and what the people are going through, because when you try to cut corners and things like that, it just doesn't work out. I've learned, I know what not to do though for book number 2 though, you
Yeah,
know.
look, well, and that's the whole, when you take in that process,
Mm-hmm.
it's so you will learn more. So the next time around, you know what to do, what not to do, what to look for. I think as Beatrice said, Lisa, you sound like a true DC girl. Absolutely. People don't believe it. I don't know why, but absolutely, I claim DC everywhere I go. And it's funny because when you brought up Spelman, some of you know I attended Spelman, and loved it, but you couldn't keep me down there. I mean, I stayed for a little while, but I was like, no, I need to get back home. I actually graduated from HD Woodson and love everything about my HD Woodson. Back then, I just loved it. And Dana came out of Woodson, but yeah, I'm DC all the way live. Yes, DC all the way. Yes. So, Donna, I want you shared a little bit about the process of writing the book. So what were some challenges that you came across when you were doing this? Any challenges or things that made you think, or even in the middle of the process where you thought, I don't know, was this a good idea, or did it push you further to the end?
Well, quick story. My cousin Deborah and we went down to St. Thomas. I wanted to try to interview a couple of relatives if I could find them. And let me just go ahead and put it out there, relatives, if you're listening to me from St. Thomas, because they know about the show tonight. A couple of them wouldn't see me because they're passing for white. True, seriously.
Okay.
I have a cousin who's a prominent attorney, and he said, "Oh, sure, Donna, when you get down here, yeah, look me up." And I've been to St. Thomas twice, and he's ignored me twice. So, but he can't escape the fact that he's a light-skinned man passing for white, but that's on him. So I went down to St. Thomas, and my cousin and I are looking for my grandfather's and my great-grandfather's home. And I did not know this until 2019. And St. Thomas had just had a hurricane, stuff was misplaced, streets were closed. I couldn't find a house. But the driver I had hired said, well, let's just keep riding around. So her little daughter was in the car with us. And she said, well, that's my grandmother over there. Let's ask her. So we get out the van. Her grandmother is selling bananas, and she tells me she's 100 years old.
Wow.
And I said, well, I'm looking for the Daniel variety store in the Daniel home. And she said, well, look no more because it's right behind you. And I turned around and I looked and I said, well, there it is. And then this is what just made me speechless. She said, and honey, they were good to their slaves. If you were going to be a slave, you wanted to be a Daniel slave if you're going to be a slave. And I'm like, what you mean? What? I looked at my cousin like, who owns slaves? We own? So I was so embarrassed. I didn't know if I was happy at the fact that they treated their slaves well.
Right, I get you.
They owned slaves. I didn't know how to respond.
Right.
And so I told Deborah, I said, well, I guess it was nice that they treated the slaves.
Yeah, that's like a weird position, right?
But she said, oh no, the house they lived in, their slaves lived right next door in a house just like it. And when I looked at the houses, I was like, oh, well, they did. I mean, I felt a little better. And it's a historical landmark. There's a plaque up there from St. Thomas. So, and my ancestors owned Water Island in St. Thomas. My grandfather is considered mulatto. You know, he looks white. In some pictures that you look at him in the book, he looks like a light-skinned Black man, but that's because those pictures are 80, 90 years old.
Right,
you know,
photographs, right?
And it gets darker and darker. But I had to show somebody a picture of my grandfather holding me when I was a baby, and they went, "Oh yeah, okay, we got it." But my grandfather, he did something which I thought was fabulous. And when he left St. Thomas and ended up going to Tuskegee, back then the United States didn't own St. Thomas. And
Okay.
so when they had, it's called a transfer accord, where all of a sudden now St. Thomas is part of the United States, but they never changed. What they did was they never reached out, like the census never reached out to my grandfather to say what he was, and they just automatically put Negro. He kept it that way, so anybody asked any questions, he didn't have any problems being married to my grandmother, who was of a darker complexion.
Okay.
You know, not a lot, but enough so they knew she was a Black woman.
Right.
So
I'm fascinated by the story, and I actually wasn't surprised when you mentioned that, because in my family line we learn, and that's why I like to go back into history and find out, who your people are, who your ancestors are. And that was actually one of the classes I shared, that I was an English major at Spelman, and that was one of the classes that fascinated me, is that I learned about, and I can't remember what the book was, but I learned about a group of people who were able to cross over. And I also know that there's some people in my family, on my mom's side, where that was the case. And there were times, and I don't know if other people have run into this, when it was time to do your family tree, I got pushback on certain levels with my family, because whether they didn't want that exposed, or you didn't want to talk about it, whatever the case was. But you would think that people don't have any problem with that, but you would be surprised at some of the history. And if you watch some of the movies out here, they kind of explain that. I think that there's a movie came out earlier this year called, oh my gosh, I've forgotten the name of it. It actually is a black and white movie. It's filmed recently though, and it's with the young lady who played in Creed 2 as the girlfriend. She plays in the movie, but it deals with that issue of being able to pass. And it's a very interesting thing to know. And so I encourage people, again, to books like this and finding out where you came from, what your history is, as far back as you can. But you start to learn a lot about what went on in the world, and think about it. It wasn't that too far back. It's some things that were going on, and you think, not during my time. Yeah, there's some stuff going on during our time.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm gonna tell you something.
It's called Passing. Yeah, I'm sorry. The name of the movie is called Passing. You're right. I should have thought about that. It's called but it's actually a black and white film. Very interesting film that I think everybody should check out if you're trying to learn more about that. But I'm glad that you touch on that in your book.
Yes, because I'm like, my grandmother came from slaves. My grandfather came from a family that owned slaves. I'm like, what did they talk about? Did they go to fisticuffs at night? I don't think so, because she was pregnant at least 9 times. I do know that. So something was going on.
Right.
I don't know, maybe they fought and then made up. I don't know. But I think her life was amazing. And for anybody to tell me that they can't make it in this world, knowing what she was faced with, and still had an education, and still she taught. She wanted to pass on everything she knew to the youth, and one of the funny things that I've learned in this process, I called every cousin I possibly could, and a few of them are listening in. And
I know that's right.
And they did not know a lot about my grandmother. They didn't know about Cardinal Gibbons Institute and what they went through in Maryland. They had no idea. And then I was talking to my husband, and I know why now. My cousins didn't know. I'm talking cousins in their 70s and 80s would have known grandma,
Right.
And because she died when I think I was 6 when she died. But there's certain things I remember about her, like M&Ms. I know that sounds crazy, but we could get M&Ms going to her house. But I don't know. She just she just did so much and wanted so much for not just Black boys and girls, but she was drawn to the girls because she knew that they could fall by the wayside. They could be in somebody's kitchen. They could, and she just knew there was more to them. And she got pushback from the Archdiocese of Baltimore for wanting to teach them.
Wow.
And she told the Archbishop himself in a letter, which I can show. She said, "I'm going to probably make you angry in this letter." She said, "But I want you to know I'm very tenacious, okay?" And every time he told her no, she went, "Yes." He said, "You can't go do this." She said, "I'm doing this." And she did it. It's
those are those hidden gems. Those are those hidden treasures. We never know who behind the scenes is fighting some hidden battles. And that's what I encourage. Actually, young people. I think wish Sharon Parker was on here. She would love this conversation. But I encourage young people to find out about. If you find out your history, you find out why you're able to do the things that you're able to do now. And it didn't happen because of you. I think sometimes our youth forget about the fact that there's somebody else who paid the price or who fought the battle, or like you said, didn't receive that no, in order for you to be able to just walk in and do what you want to do. And we gotta remember that. And I think this journey that you went on in writing this book actually, for your whole family, has given you something to read and say, wow, that's what we did. Even my family, this is how my family contributed to the community, to the world.
Yes. My mama told me, and she told Dana and David and Ronald and Vicky and all of us, she always told us, she said, "You come from good stock." And she said, "You're a Daniel." Sorry, Dad. She said, "You're a Daniel and you're made of good stock and you can be anything you want to be." And she told my brother this. She told my brother Ronald this. He was looking for a job or something, I don't know. But she said, "I don't care if you're a trash man, you be the best trash man out there. Do you understand me?" So my mother spoke always positive things to us, except when she was jacking us up. But she didn't know which one we were. She would go, "Ronald, David, Donna, Dana, which one are you?"
You know who you are, right?
Yeah, look, and if I'm spiking you and it's for the wrong thing, you did something before that I catch you, So she basically talked to us, and there's such a gap between us. My oldest brother is 71 or 2. And my little sister is in her early 50s, so there's a whole, and Dana and I kind of just were thrown in the middle. But I just felt it was just important to get the information out about my grandmother. What she did, I thought, was miraculous in that day and time. I think it's miraculous in this day and time.
Absolutely.
And she didn't let anybody stop her or move her, even though there was a period in the book in her life that she shut down. And I understand why she shut down. But when she got that second win, watch out.
I love it. I wanted to shout out everybody who's tuning in, the family, the friends. We have Lynette that's tuning in from North Carolina. We have Eve. We have Eve Bennett. We have T. Harris. Jasmine is on, Beatrice. Thank you all for tuning in. This is some great conversation. I'm actually, and I probably already told this to you, Donna, but we definitely want to bring her back in because we want to give everybody a chance to read the book and then maybe have a show where we come back and talk about the book, because I think this is one of those pieces. So share a little bit about what's been happening with the book since you released it. Tell us what you're doing with this book, because you ain't just write the book and publish it. That's not what she did, because she did what you're supposed to do with the book. You start moving the book, you start bringing that book to life. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing with it.
Well, I didn't I didn't have a plan. I asked God to lead, guide, and direct me. And so what I did, I purchased 100 books myself.
Love it.
There were people also who wanted to get it from Amazon, which was great. But in the beginning, I had to learn the hard way. Amazon can take their sweet time when they want to release it. And when I tried to order my own book, it told me it'd be about 30 days. And I'm like,
That's true.
what? So I'm learning. They also, they mess with the price. I said, well, I thought I said it at this price, but they messed with well, anyway. What's been happening from Ingram Spark, who's my publisher, I got the little bestseller badge. They said I moved a lot of books. I went from 100 to 29.
Woo!
Yeah. So many people, my classmates, my best friend. This blessed me. I have 3 really, really good girlfriends in my life. Sylvia and I have been friends since 60 years. We've been friends 60 years.
Wow.
And she called me and she said, Donna, because she went to Tuskegee, and she went, oh, Donna, I didn't know. She was like, I didn't know. She goes, Donna, I couldn't put the book down.
Wow.
And to hear her say that, to get that affirmation, not somebody stroking me because they know me. And then, I have another girlfriend named Gladys. Gladys just was like, Donna, you can do this. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sick of this. And because I wrote everything by hand.
Yeah.
Old
school. That's right.
I wrote everything by hand. And Dana's like, oh, you're not typing it? I wasn't going to give her a manuscript written by hand. So, I did that, and it started moving. And then next thing I knew, I'm like, okay, I'm going to, my husband and I will be going to Bethune-Cookman because they want a few books for their library, but they also want the papers I got from the Library of Congress between my grandmother and Miss Bethune, and then Jill Watts, the author of The Black Cabinet. Jill sent me 130 pages of handwritten letters and typed letters between Mary McLeod Bethune and my grandmother. And that's when I found out my mom was a spy in the camp for Miss Bethune. She would go to Miss Bethune would find out who was speaking maybe at Howard University to the students, and to get a prominent individual into the Black Cabinet, my mother would seek them out, and then my grandmother, Miss Bethune would give the okay, and then my grandmother go get them, right, and say, oh, hey, you need to be part of this. So
oh man, wow.
Yeah, my mother was a spy in the camp. But my grandmother was so matter of fact. If you said, Grandma, she was this type of person, Grandma, do you like my dress? And she would probably say, well, if you like it, we'll leave it at that. She's probably thinking in her head, that's an ugly dress.
Right. I don't want to hurt your feelings, and I don't want to lie. So this is what I'm going to say.
Like it.
That's that bless your heart thing, huh? Bless your heart.
Yeah. I was, all the 100 books I ordered are gone.
Wow.
People wanted me to sign it and things like that. And there are a few special things, I wanted to make sure that they had, I don't know if I have it in this book, but I made sure they had bookmarkers and things like that. I had a special launch last Friday, October 21st. And that was special to me because that was my little brother's birthday, and he would have been 57. He died from cancer when he was 8, many, many years ago. And I invited my neighbors who have been supporting me. And I had to say thank you, but it was also a book launch, and everybody got books, and we need another 2 books here, and we need another this, and then Paul's wife Karen, is always encouraging me, and Mary Kate, and just the people in this area. But I'll tell you something, this is a predominantly white neighborhood. Mm-hmm. This is 95% white. Okay. And it's okay with me. It doesn't bother me. But what blessed me was they were interested in what I had to write, because my next door neighbor came to me and said, I'm ashamed. She said, I'm ashamed. Why didn't they teach us this? And I said, they didn't teach us this history because our history wasn't important. And what they don't realize is that Black history is beyond February. Black history is every single day. And I tell people, when you go through a stop, like, think a Black person. And when your elevator's doors close, think a Black person. And when you're ironing, think a Black person. And when you're making peanut butter and jelly sandwich, think a Black person. There's just so many things that weren't taught or weren't deemed important. And for her to come and tell me that blessed me beyond measure, because I'm like, one person got it. One person got it. And that's all it takes.
That's right.
One person. And I know other people, they're understood, because I've been on my soapbox. I've been teaching Black history since I got here. In the pool. Look, I keep my book in my pool bag. Oh,
absolutely.
Absolutely. In the car, and that's why 25% of the proceeds is going towards the American Cancer Society. Is going for the American Cancer Society in honor of. Yeah.
Wow. See, that's what I'm talking about, because you're giving back. So 25% of sales go to American Cancer Society for the month of October, and then 10% every month to feeding the 5,000. That's major, Donna. Because it's not, like I said, it's not that a lot of people are writing books and they got a book, but you actually embrace the entire journey. And that's because there's a message in this book that has to get out, and that one person is going to lead to another person and another person, and it's for all races to know. We should know what went on in the world that we now live in that shaped where we are now, and be careful, because some things repeat themselves. So we need to recognize that it's a repeat and not a first time. And you don't know that if you don't know your history. So I thank you for even stepping up to the plate and doing this. This is major for you as an individual, because I'm a sucker for, that's why I love writing, because it's permanent. And you now put yourself in history. I mean, because we all think about the people who lived in history and experienced amazing things, but they never wrote it down. They never wrote it down, so nobody knows. It's just with you. But when you actually write it down and make it permanent, long after we're gone from here, somebody's going to know more than they would have because of you.
Well, my grandmother, just to give a little background on her, she went to, like I said, she went to the Agassiz school, which was predominantly, she was the only Black student. But the head, Ms. Baldwin, was the head of that school. There were only 2 master teacher principals and 2 Blacks. And her principal was one of them. And her name was, I think her name was Louise Baldwin. But she went to the school. She graduated from high school when she was 14 and a half, because her birthday is August 10th, And then she went to Spelman. She stayed there a year. She had Spelman. And then she went to Atlanta. She graduated. She got her teaching certificate. She was a professor of English. And then she went to Tuskegee, because my great grandparents, her parents were there. So her mother was a concert pianist, and her father was an architect who helped. He was one of the 3 Black architects that built St. Paul, Minnesota, as well as Rankin Chapel. He was also the first Black designer for Tiffany's. And so, they just finished.
Oh my gosh! If y'all not taking notes right now, oh my God, keep going.
So she came from an educated family. So she made it there to Tuskegee, but Booker T. Washington told her, you got to get a little education, little work history under your belt. So she went away. She taught for 2 years in Wichita, Kansas, came back, and alongside her father was a professor at Tuskegee. And then my grandfather, he left St. Thomas, went to Cuba, worked a little bit, did a few things, and then he went to Tuskegee to get his degree. Now, mind you, students at Tuskegee at the time weren't your regular 17, 18, 19, some were 25, some were 30, because some Black people could not get an education until they were older and did it on their own. They couldn't read, they couldn't write. And so that's how my grandmother and grandfather kind of hooked up. But then my grandmother got married to my grandfather. She made her own wedding dress, very frugal. And she only had one person in her wedding, her best friend, Ruth. And after my grandmother got married and everything, she got pregnant right away. That should have been her first clue about my grandfather. But the important part of this story is her baby. She had her son. He was 7.5 months, I think. He was premature. And it was George Washington Carver who made a makeshift incubator out of hot bricks to keep my Uncle Vic warm, and told my grandmother to rub his limbs down with peanut oil to strengthen him. And even though my Uncle Vic was sickly most of his life, he got married to my Aunt Veronica. I called my cousin my only cousin, but he had my only cousin Deborah, and even though he had another child. But, he lived to be, I think, 66, 67 years old. But it was George Washington Carver that helped save his life. Can you imagine going, oh, yeah, George Washington Carver is my friend. Yeah, Booker T. Washington's my friend. But when I have the letter, I think I only typed it because the letter was so light. But we have a letter from George Washington Carver to my grandparents when they lost one of their children. And he gave his condolences when the Archbishop wouldn't, and when the priest wouldn't. But anyway.
This is rich. No,
I
think it was Paul who said I learned so much about Black history when speaking to Donna. This is so rich. And everybody, if you have a moment, just click that share button and share it to everybody. They can definitely check it out on replay. But these are the kind of conversations that I think everybody should start to have, so we can just get a better understanding of us as a people. Because I think these kind of conversations too bring us closer together when we have a better understanding of who we are, where we came from. And that here's the thing: a lot of times we think we didn't have anything to do with some of these things that happen in the world, and come to find out, not only were we around, but it was direct connect, family, everything. And who would have thought? I love this, and I love what you're doing. We didn't take many breaks at all because I've just enjoyed the conversation. Shariva, maybe we can have one commercial and we're going to come back. We're going to find out where you can get a copy of the book again. I want you to actually share some things that you really want the reader to walk away with reading your book. And then we're going to have some TikTok moments and maybe a little luncheon with Lisa minute, because we only got like 7-8 minutes left. So let's go to a commercial break and we'll get right back.
Okay.
I love you like la 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 la. I love you like la 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 la. I love you like la 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 la. I love you like la 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 la.
So that's DSM Media. You all hit us up. We do commercials, we do graphics, we do social media postings. You're welcome, Jasmine. Thank you. I'm so blessed to be able to even share your family. I am extra blessed, so I want to make sure I'm doing a special little shout out to the Touch by Dove publishing team. Y'all see what we working with? because Dana's a part of the team, and this is lineage. This is Dana's family on here. So we got the real deal. We got the real deal, and that's important to me because publishing books and getting your message out there is really serious to me. It's a big deal. I'm not really sure why people take it so lightly, but it's huge to write a book and then publish a book. And the fact that we have the best with Dana on the team, and then Donna is out here publishing these amazing books, because I know this ain't the end of your journey. This is only the beginning. So tell everybody where they can get a copy of your book, so y'all can go right after this and go get your copy.
Well, they can get it on Amazon.
Okay.
And it's Constance, a force to be reckoned with. Again, here we go. Hey, Grandma. Oh, thank you. Okay. If anyone wants an autograph copy, they can just email me if they would like. And my email address is D for Donna, Bird, BYRD 56 at Verizon.net. And I'll be more than happy to send them out. They can cash at me or send it via Zelle. And again, I want everybody to know 25% through the end of this month will go to the American Cancer Society, or you can just get the book from me. I think this will be a good book for
there's a sale.
I know. Every time you hear a bell ring, that means
that's right.
Thank you. But people have been reaching out. I've been shipping out books seriously to book clubs.
I love it.
And I was supposed to meet up with a book club here in this community this evening, but I let them know I was doing the show and suggested they just go ahead and check it in. But I've had so many of my neighbors who've been instrumental in getting the word out. And I'm in the pool all the time. I love the pool. So when they go, Donna, what you doing? Bing. Let me tell you a story. So I need to get her out, because see, little girls and grown women will be able to look at my grandmother, Constance Eleanor Hazel Daniel, and say, if she can do that, and there was no internet, there was no cell phone, there was no phone there where they were, they made their own things, they grew their own crop. If she can do it, get a degree. My grandmother had her own syndicated column in the Afro. My grandmother traveled with Mary McLeod Bethune to get boys and girls in the school. My grandmother ran with her husband the first all-Black high school in 1924. Students from 15 to 31 years old,
oh my goodness,
banging down the doors to get into that school because they knew it was an opportunity. But it was the Archdiocese of Baltimore who wanted them to be just a good little principal and good little vice principal and just go ahead and sit on their hands and let us do all the work. We'll tell you what you want to do. They wanted a little Tuskegee. They wanted a name to go with their school. They wanted to use, and they did use, my grandparents, to the point where my grandfather had he had 2 nervous breakdowns. And my grandmother lost 2 children because they didn't provide heat in the house according to their contract. But I've been in touch with the Pope. Reparations, that's all I can say right now.
Hey, look, just like Grandma, look, I love it. So you all definitely need to get in touch with Donna, get your copy of your book. I'm hoping that Donna will come back here at Lunchin with Lisa and share more. I did want to make sure that I let you all know that this month, I know we're almost finished with the month of October, but this month is actually Domestic Violence Awareness Month. It's also Breast Cancer Awareness Month. World Mental Health Day was October 10th. It's Mental Illness Awareness Month. Bully prevention, crime prevention, something that I found out that I wasn't aware of, that is also emotional intelligence awareness. I did not know that October was that month. That one is huge, y'all. Don't sleep on that. But I will definitely remember that for next October. And it's National Mammography Day. I
Yes.
believe. And it's I never heard of Make a Difference Day, but it is in October. And that's what I think we did today was make a difference. Thank you so much, Donna. Don't sleep on this read. Absolutely, Dana. By Constance, a force to be reckoned with. Today, in 2 minutes, we're going to have a couple of TikTok moments, and then we're going to release you all to go get your copy. So you have your assignment, which is when you leave Lunchin with Lisa, you go get your copy of that book, and then this weekend you need to read. But what we do here at Lunchin with Lisa, we didn't have a Lunchin with Lisa moment, so to speak, but we'll catch Donna next time on that. But what we do have is a TikTok moment that we've added, because you all know that I always say my husband and I love to people watch, and TikTok to me is the perfect place for people watchers, because there's a lot of people on TikTok doing some interesting things. But I will say that a lot of times they have some wonderful positive messages. So I like to leave Lunchin with Lisa every Thursday, because this is, and Sharifa might get mad at me, but this is my Friday, because I'm off every Friday. So I like to leave you all with a message of what I think you should do going into the weekend. So let's check out a couple of these TikTok moments that we pulled, and to give you a positive message on how to enter into the weekend, and then we'll come back and say goodbye.
Okay to not be okay. It's just not okay to stay that way. The one thing I know about emotions is that they change. You have a reason to live. Get up. Your future is brighter than your past. Get up. Your ladder is greater than your former. Get up, because the best is still yet to come.
Amen.
To start
That was
your
very
day.
stout.
Number one, I choose to have a good day. I refuse to have a bad day. Despite everything that's going on around me, I control what I give my peace and my energy to. Number two, I control how I respond to people, things, and situations. The things around me does not control me. Number three, I refuse to give anyone permission to steal my joy, my happiness, or my peace of mind. My mental health matters, and I refuse to give anyone permission to change that.
Those are my messages to everyone who tuned in. Please feel free to share this show with anybody. The replay still works. And you can share this forever and ever and ever and ever. Those are the messages I want to leave you with, because it's so important. That was the power shut up slip in there. I slipped. There's always a moment to be quiet and be still, listen, and let's be real. I used to be one of those people who said I'm not allowing people to steal my joy when my energy wasn't right, but it was my fault. And I'm telling you that we have to take ownership. If you're feeling some kind of way, you're in a stank mood, I'm going to use the word, it's just a stank mood, you can't figure out what's going on. Most of the time, it's because you allow somebody to steal your joy. So yes, the power shut up is real. And sometimes you got to be quiet to maintain your peace. So remember that. Enjoy your weekend. Dana, you're absolutely welcome. I thank you all for sharing your story. And Donna, you are always welcome back. I think it was Dawn McRae said, looking forward to part 2. I am too. So until you come back again in any Thursday, you let me know and we will set it up. And because I've ordered my book, so I'm waiting for my book to get here so that I can read it. And that's when I'm gonna say, do not disturb. I want to read my book because I'm about to learn me about constants. Okay, so I encourage you all to do the same. And again, thank you all for tuning in every Thursday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find Lunchin with Lisa live on Facebook and YouTube on Thursdays, but don't stop there. You can find Lunchin with Lisa on Spotify. You can find us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. So we don't want to hear any excuses about you didn't hear the show, because you can replay this. You can go to our pages. And please share. That's how we get these messages out, is that we have to share. And sometimes you don't have to do all of that advertising on a big billboard. Now, don't get me wrong, because I've been on the billboard and it's a wonderful feeling. But sometimes it's a one-on-one pass off. You just talk about it, you share it, and you'll be surprised at how much it grows. So thank you all for tuning in. I hope to see you next week. And Donna, we will be in touch. We got to bring you back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, really. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I've enjoyed every minute, and I'm so eager to learn, to read the book. I'm so eager. So y'all have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.
Bye, guys. Take care.